Hello, I'm Berni Xiong, Life Spark with Berni Xiong LLC at bernixiong.com. Today is Wednesday, August 10th, 2011, and this is episode 32 of Get a Life Spark. Thank you everybody for your patience and understanding in the delay in getting this video out to you today. As many of you know, if you've been following my Twitter and Facebook updates, you know that my home was burglarized a couple of days ago and my purse was stolen as a result. So the past couple of days have been me trying to get things in order and bring things back to normalcy, given the fact that my identity and some personal bank account information was compromised. But anyway, I'm resilient. We'll get through this. Worse things could happen. And so this actually segues perfectly into this week's discussion. We're going to talk about understanding your identity. Okay, and whether we're talking about your personal brand identity or whether we're talking about your professional or business brand identity, it's really getting to the bottom of understanding what your identity holds for you. We've got to start there first before we can move forward and understand how then we create that message and get that message out to the appropriate people. Okay, so let's dive right into this discussion. How this came about, I mean, obviously aside from my purse being stolen from my own kitchen table, but how this came about was I have been undergoing a lot of different website and business redesigns over the past 3 years that I launched my coaching practice. And obviously there's pros and cons to doing that. The pros are, as you evolve, you have to be able to adapt and be flexible and change with technology, change with times, and change with the demands of the customer. At the same time, a really good, consultant slash friend of mine, Phil Gerbishak, had also mentioned, you got to make sure, though, that you do keep your message out there long enough to see if it sticks, to see if it is successful, to see if it is working. Because sometimes it just needs to be out there long enough for people to see and to remember and for it to be repetitious to them, which makes sense. And so as I've been going through the next iteration of my web redesign and my business, I guess rethinking my messaging for my coaching business, which has now added speaking and consulting and writing to it, I really had to go through this process more creatively and more strategically. In the past, I would think of an idea, begin implementing it immediately, and kind of suffer the consequences later, whether it was positive or negative. And fortunately, over the years, I have encountered so many amazing, supportive, encouraging, and smart, strategic people who have been mentors, advisors, consultants, friends, confidants, very successful and smart people who have helped me to kind of take a step back and assess some of those ideas, kind of, be more strategic in my approach to make sure that the changes I'm making do have more of a long-term plan incorporated into it as I'm making these modifications to my business practice or the operations or whatnot. And so I've been very fortunate to have that kind of support versus just diving into things and jumping into things, kind of not really understanding the repercussions of some of those decisions. And that obviously is the difference between, somebody brand spanking new to starting a business, not understanding that, not having a lot of resources, and now being surrounded by so many amazing resourceful people and sources online, social media, if you will. There's a ton of information out there that have been able to help support me as I'm making these decisions. And obviously I do have a coach as well who does mentor me and advise me before I make some big decisions. And so, again, I want to bring this back full circle. Understanding your identity from a professional or even a personal standpoint is so important, right? I mean, think about it. When you're buying, let's say I'm big on shoes, okay? So let's say you're buying a pair of shoes. You obviously are looking for something specific, right? You either have an idea of what the shoe looks like in your mind, or you have an idea of how you're going to feel once you find that shoe. But unless in your mind you understand what it is you're looking for, it's very hard for you to have those emotions evoked in you when you start to go to the different stores to look at shoes, right? So with that said, it's kind of the same with your business or the way you're presenting your services to people. Unless you have a clear understanding of who you're serving, who you want to sell your product or service to, it'll be very hard for you to get that message clear to them as they're walking through your store, as they're going through your website, as they're listening to the conversation they're having with you when you give them a free personal first-time consultation, because they're going to be looking for specific messaging from you. And that's something that I learned from a lot of these people who've been supporting me, a lot of resources, even me as a prospective client to different service and product providers. That really helped me to better understand, what does my message say to people? First of all, take a step back. First of all, who am I talking to? Who am I trying to reach, right? And I'll be specific. I'm trying to reach very, very successful entrepreneurs / small business owners / business leaders of organizations who are smart, who are strategic, who are successful. But sometimes you just need a good kick in the shin to get yourself kind of moving more at full speed, because sometimes life can be overwhelming for you. Sometimes your obligations can be daunting. And sometimes it's hard to see the forest through the trees, and you need an accountability partner or sounding board to help you as you're making some pretty big decisions in your life, both personally and professionally. Those are the types of people that I'm capable of working with. Okay, so the second part then is, well, then how do I get that message out to them? And this is the lesson I've been learning as a solo entrepreneur, someone who's only been in business for 3 years doing this, brand spanking new to being an entrepreneur. And what I learned was that I needed to start talking to these people with this message and in that voice to let them know, I'm here for you. I'm here to support you, and here is how I'm capable of doing it. Okay, so one example might be, I had a 12-year track record in corporate sales. I had a successful job. I traveled a lot. I talked to Fortune 500 companies. I handled a lot of large national accounts, from across the nation and Canada. And I gave that up because it no longer served me. I was no longer fulfilled. I never really felt fulfilled inside, even though on the outside I looked and felt successful. On the inside, I felt like I wasn't serving a purpose. And so when I quit my job in 2008, I launched my coaching business because I felt that, you know what, if I'm going to give away all of these monetary rewards, if I'm going to give away all of this time and energy I'm spending in supporting this corporation, I'm going to give myself back that time now to do something meaningful and purposeful for me. And that is to help people like me who are afraid to launch their life, a career, or a new relationship. And I'm going to show them by leading by example. I took that leap of faith to quit my job, and I'm hoping that my actions speak louder than my words. And by doing so, and by continuing to learn as I'm evolving in my business as a businesswoman, and as an entrepreneur, I'm hoping that my experience, my skills, and the wisdom I've acquired over the past 3 years, and obviously the 12 plus years that I was in the corporate world, can really help support somebody who is or has been in similar situations as I have been. And I can be a resource for that person because I have first-hand experience. And so that is the message that I've learned that I need to tell people, right? And so I'm being very transparent here and telling you, I know the areas I'm not good at. I know the areas I need improvement on. And it has always been selling myself short. It has always been not telling everybody what I'm completely capable of. Maybe it's because I'm a little modest. Maybe because I don't want it to be all about me. Maybe it's because I want it to be about you. I want to put the focus and attention on you, my prospective client, and my client. But the opportunity that may be missed is that I'm not telling you the story in greater detail to let you understand where I come from, to let you know how we're relatable to each other. And so if anything from this week's discussion, I really want to help you to understand that you need to hone in on your areas of strengths. You need to hone in on the types of people you specifically can help the best. And you need to not be afraid to go out there and send that message to people, because that's the only way they're going to be able to find you. That's the only way you can make the right connections with them. And that's the only way you can succeed in running the business, providing the product or the service that you do. And this is the lesson I have recently learned myself. And so I share that with you here today because obviously we're on this path together. We're both running through this forest together, unable to see, the path in front of us, but we're doing it together. And I'm here to let you know that even I am going through that. And it's scary. It definitely is scary. But I hold on to the hope and faith, and I hold on to the focus that I have of what it is that I want to achieve in long term, and where this end road is going to be. And my destination is always my focal point. And so I have to put trust in the process. And I have to understand that along the way it will be scary. Along the way the road will be bumpy. But we're in this together. And we're going to support each other through this. So anyway, that is the topic of discussion this week. Know your personal and or business identity. And then be able to speak that message clearly to those you are trying to reach. And don't be afraid to try to connect to those you're trying to reach. It just makes life so much easier. Like Phil Gerbishak, I mention him so much, but like he says, do what you love and have fun. Have fun at it. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be so complicated. Do what you love, have fun with it, and keep it simple, guys. All right, we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining. Please leave your comments, feedback, and questions. I love being here every week. Thank you for the opportunity to inspire you. You continue to inspire me every chance I get to sit down and talk with you guys. So anyway, go to bernixiong.com for previous episodes, for previous blogs, to leave comments and questions. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Make it great. Bye-bye now.